Crossing the Plains by Bradford Graves at the York exit, westbound. I'm celebrating the nation's 250th birthday by revisiting its 200th, the Bicentennial, because Nebraska was unique in celebrating that bicentennial with a series of monumental sculptures installed at the various Interstate 80 rest stops across the state. My family traveled that interstate regularly during the past 50 years. My wife was actively involved in the state's art community. Nebraska's I-80 sculptures are the only permanent bicentennial celebration, and I wrote about two of them in my books. So this year seemed like a good time to revisit those pieces and produce my reactions to them. All the Nebraska I-80 sculptures have sidewalks leading up to them so that you can walk up, walk around, then return to your journey across the plains. And in the case of the one at York, Nebraska, continue literally crossing the plains. This one by Bradford Graves has always seemed a little mysterious to me, and I don't know why. Maybe that's the reaction that abstract sculpture is supposed to produce in a viewer, and in this case, a piece that you can walk up to and sit on, or put your hands all over it, just like Bradford Graves must have done when he was close to finishing it, or at least getting it ready for delivery. And of course, just like all the other I-80 sculptures, the piece invites you to walk around it, study it from various angles, and ask yourself what was in the artist's mind when they drew those first drawings, those first ideas about something to submit to a national competition for a permanent place along Interstate 80 to celebrate the American bicentennial in the middle of the American Great Plains. I don't know what others do when they walk up to a piece like Crossing the Plains, but I tend to study all the parts individually and how they are put together. That's sort of how we humans think about almost everything else, right? How our lives are assembled, what all are parts of those lives, how are all those parts constructed and arranged over time and space, and what someone was doing to construct those parts. Sort of analogous to the way Bradford Graves was using a jackhammer chisel, like the ones you could use to demolish something. And of course, he demolished a bunch of limestone, but in doing so, created a highly symbolic piece of art. Because of its structure and arrangement, you can look through one of its spaces and actually see people crossing the plains. And in those semis, American commerce also crossing the plains. Reminds you of everything else that's ever crossed the plains, right? Everything, including weather, cold fronts, heat waves, tornadoes, bison, Native Americans, migrating sandpipers, dust, and ideas, stories, immigrants, photographs, pollen. Everything that moves around Earth by whatever means ends up crossing some plains, including those in Nebraska. So that Bradford Graves' abstract sculpture becomes a symbol of movement, period, even though it's as stationary as those big hand-carved blocks of limestones can be. Thanks for listening to my comments about crossing the plains. Feel free to look at all my other pieces about I-80 sculptures by the link on my website. Thanks.